In the year 2347, humanity had reached far beyond Earth. For more than a century, people from Earth traveled to distant stars, explored strange worlds, and met alien races. They dreamed of peace, knowledge, and friendship with other beings in the galaxy. But dreams do not always come true. Sometimes they turn into nightmares. The Galactic Council was an ancient group made up of many advanced species. These aliens ruled over large parts of the galaxy. They saw themselves as protectors of order and balance. At first, they welcomed humans. Earth's explorers brought fresh ideas and energy to the Council. But soon, things changed. The aliens grew uneasy. Humans were too fast, too bold, and too hungry for expansion. Some members of the Council whispered that humans cared only about themselves and not about others. One day, the Council called a meeting. Every species sent its leaders to speak. The room was huge, with high ceilings and glowing walls. Strange creatures sat around a round table. Some looked like plants, others like animals, and a few did not look like anything humans could have imagined. In the middle of the table stood a small hologram of Earth. It spun slowly, casting light across the room. A tall alien with blue skin and 6 arms spoke first. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Humans are reckless," he said. "They take what they want without thinking of the cost. Their actions disturb the harmony of the galaxy." Other voices joined in, agreeing with him. One alien pointed out how human mining ships destroyed planets rich in life. Another complained about how humans ignored warnings and broke rules set by the Council. Daniel Carter, a man from Earth, listened carefully. He was once a diplomat who worked hard to make peace between humans and aliens. Now he felt hopeless. The accusations against his people stung deeply. He knew some of them were true, but not all. Humans were not perfect, but neither were the aliens. Still, there was no point arguing. The decision had already been made. When it was time to vote, every member raised their hand or equivalent body part except one. That single dissenting vote came from a quiet alien race known for valiantly defending weaker species. But their support meant little. By a wide margin, the Council declared humans outlaws. All human colonies outside the solar system would be shut down. Trade and communication with other species were forbidden. Earth itself would remain under strict observation. News of the banishment spread quickly. Across the galaxy, millions of humans woke up to find their lives turned upside down. On distant moons and orbiting stations, families packed their belongings. Soldiers dismantled bases. Scientists abandoned labs filled with experiments. Refugees poured back to Earth, carrying stories of loss and anger. Many cried openly, others clenched their fists, vowing revenge. Back on Earth, chaos erupted. Cities buzzed with protests. People shouted at screens showing images of the Council's judgment. Governments scrambled to deal with the sudden influx of returning citizens. Resources dwindled as food and housing shortages worsened. Leaders argued among themselves, unsure what to do next. Rachel Monroe watched the turmoil unfold from her lab near New York City. She was a young engineer with sharp eyes and a stubborn streak. Her hands moved swiftly over tools scattered across her workbench. Pieces of metal and wires lay everywhere. A half-built machine hummed softly in the corner. This was her life's work, a project she hoped would save humanity. Rachel refused to give up. While others despaired, she focused on finding solutions. She believed humans could rise above this challenge. "We've faced worse," she muttered to herself late one night. "This isn't the end." Her machine was unlike anything ever built before. It was a ship designed to travel faster than light using a new kind of engine. Most starships relied on warp drives, which bent space to move quickly. But Rachel's invention worked differently. It created a bubble around the ship, pulling it forward without disturbing the fabric of reality. If successful, it could allow humans to escape the Council's reach entirely. Word of Rachel's project leaked out. Some called her crazy. Others thought she was dangerous, but a few saw promise in her idea. Among them was Daniel Carter. Though retired, he still cared deeply about humanity's future. When he heard about Rachel's ship, he reached out to Her immediately. Their first meeting took place in a dimly lit cafe. Daniel arrived early, clutching a cup of coffee. Rachel walked in moments later, her hair tied back in a messy bun. She carried a tablet filled with schematics. Without wasting time, she explained her vision. "This ship can get us out of here," she said. "Not just away from Earth, but beyond the Council's control. We can find a new home somewhere safe." Daniel studied her face. She looked tired, but determined. He nodded slowly. "It's risky," he admitted. "But if we stay here, we're trapped. The Council won't let us rebuild. We need options." Together, they began planning. Daniel used his connections to gather allies. He reached out to old friends in government and military circles. Rachel worked tirelessly in her lab, refining her designs. They knew they couldn't act alone. To succeed, they needed help from others willing to fight for a better future. One such person was Emily Dawson. A skilled pilot with nerves of steel, Emily had served in Earth's orbital defense force. She lost her job after the Council's ruling forced the military to disband. Bored and restless, she jumped at the chance to join Rachel and Daniel. Flying experimental ships was exactly the kind of challenge she craved. Another recruit was Alex Rivera, a strategist with a reputation for brilliance. Before the banishment, Alex advised Earth's top generals. Now he spent his days teaching kids how to play chess. When Daniel approached him, Alex didn't hesitate. "If you're serious about taking on the Council," he said, "count me in." With their team growing, hope flickered to life. For the first time since the Council's verdict, people dared to dream again. Rumors spread about a secret project hidden beneath an old space station. Some dismissed them as fantasy. Others believed wholeheartedly. Either way, the idea sparked something important: resistance. But danger lurked everywhere. Spies loyal to the Council infiltrated Earth, spreading lies and sowing discord. Acts of sabotage became common. Power grids failed, factories burned. Public opinion shifted against those who opposed the Council. Yet Rachel and her team pressed on. They knew failure wasn't an option. Late one evening, Rachel stood alone in her lab. The prototype ship loomed before her, nearly complete. Its sleek surface gleamed under artificial lights. She ran her fingers along its hull, feeling the cool metal beneath her touch. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine the possibilities. Beyond the stars lay countless worlds waiting to be discovered. Somewhere out there was a place where humanity could start over. "We'll show them," she whispered to herself. "We'll prove we're stronger than they think." Outside, the city buzzed with activity. Protesters marched through streets, lined with crumbling buildings. Politicians debated endlessly in crowded halls. And above it all, the sky stretched endlessly, reminding everyone of the vastness beyond. Humanity might have been cast out, but it was far from finished. Not yet. The underground movement grew stronger with each passing day. Rachel Monroe, Daniel Carter, Emily Dawson, and Alex Rivera worked tirelessly to turn their dreams into reality. Their project, codenamed Phoenix, became a symbol of hope for those who refused to accept the Galactic Council's judgment. The ship wasn't just a machine. It represented humanity's determination to survive, adapt, and thrive despite overwhelming odds. Rachel spent most of her time in the lab, fine-tuning every detail of Phoenix. She knew the stakes were high. If the ship failed, it wouldn't just mean the end of their mission. It could crush the spirits of millions who believed in them. Her hands moved quickly over glowing screens and tangled wires. Sweat dripped down her forehead, but she didn't stop. Sleep was a luxury she couldn't afford. Daniel, on the other hand, focused on building alliances. He traveled across Earth, meeting with leaders of small resistance groups. Many had lost faith after the Council's decision, but Daniel's words reignited their courage. "We've been pushed to the edge," he told them during one gathering in a hidden bunker beneath Chicago. "But when humanity is cornered, we fight back. We always find a way." Emily Dawson trained relentlessly for her role as the ship's pilot. Flying Phoenix would be unlike anything she'd ever done before. The experimental engine required precise control, and even the smallest mistake could spell disaster. In an abandoned airfield outside the city, she practiced maneuvers in old fighter jets, pushing them to their limits. Her instructors often warned her about taking risks, but Emily ignored them. Risk was part of the job. Alex Rivera poured his energy into strategy. He studied maps of nearby star systems, looking for potential routes Phoenix could take. The Galactic Council's enforcers patrolled heavily along known paths, so Alex devised new ones that zigzagged through uncharted space. He also prepared contingency plans in case things went wrong. If they encountered enemy ships or hostile environments, Alex wanted to make sure they had options. As the team worked, tensions rose across Earth. Spies loyal to the Galactic Council infiltrated human settlements, spreading lies and misinformation. Some claimed Phoenix was a weapon designed to attack alien worlds. Others said Rachel and her team were traitors working against Earth's best interests. These stories caused panic among the public. Protests erupted in major cities, with angry crowds demanding answers from their leaders. Despite the chaos, the team stayed focused. They knew time was running out. The Council had already sent patrols to monitor Earth more closely. Sooner or later, they would discover Phoenix. When that happened, there would be no second chances. One evening, Rachel called everyone together for a meeting. The group gathered in the lab, surrounded by tools and half-finished equipment. The air smelled of oil and burnt metal. Rachel stood in front of a large screen displaying a map of the galaxy. "We're ready," she announced. Her voice was calm but firm. "Phoenix is nearly complete. All we need now is a destination." Daniel stepped forward. "I've been talking to some contacts. There's a cluster of stars far beyond the Council's reach. It's risky, but if we can get there, we might find habitable planets." Emily nodded. "I can handle the flight. Just tell me where to go." Alex added, "I've mapped out a route that avoids patrol zones, but we'll need to move fast. Once we leave Earth, we won't have much time before they catch up." Everyone agreed. The plan was set. Phoenix would launch within the week. Their goal was simple: escape the Council's grasp and find a new home for humanity. It was a bold gamble, but they had no choice. The days leading up to the launch were filled with tension. The team worked around the clock, double-checking every system and preparing for any possible scenario. Supplies were loaded onto the ship, including food, water, medical kits, and tools for building shelters. They also brought seeds, symbols of hope for planting life on a new world. On the night before the launch, Rachel walked alone through the lab. The hum of machinery filled the silence. She stopped in front of Phoenix and stared at its sleek surface. For months, this ship had been her sole focus. Now it was almost time to see if all her hard work would pay off. "You nervous?" a voice asked behind her. Rachel turned to see Daniel standing there. He looked tired but resolute. She smiled faintly. "A little," she admitted. "But we've come too far to turn back now." Daniel nodded. "You're right. Tomorrow changes everything. No matter what happens, we've already proven something important." "What's that?" Rachel asked. "That humanity doesn't give up," Daniel replied. "Even when the odds are stacked against us, we keep fighting. That's who we are." Rachel thought about his words as she climbed into bed later that night. Sleep didn't come easily. Her mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. Would Phoenix work? Could they really find a new home? And if they succeeded, how would the Council react? The next morning arrived sooner than expected. The sky was dark, with only a sliver of moonlight breaking through thick clouds. The team gathered at the launch site, a remote location deep in the desert. Phoenix stood tall on its platform, gleaming under floodlights. Around it, technicians bustled about, making final adjustments. As the countdown began, Rachel took her seat inside the cockpit. Emily sat beside her, gripping the controls tightly. Alex and Daniel strapped themselves into seats further back. Everyone exchanged nervous glances, but no one spoke. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. 10 seconds, a technician called out over the intercom. Rachel closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This was it. There was no turning back now. 5, 4, 3. Emily's hands hovered over the controls, ready to guide the ship into the unknown. 2, 1. The engines roared to life, shaking the ground beneath them. A blinding flash of light erupted as Phoenix lifted off, climbing higher and higher into the night sky. Within moments, it disappeared from view, leaving only a trail of fire in its wake. Back on Earth, people watched the launch from rooftops and hilltops. Some cheered, while others cried. For many, Phoenix represented a chance at a better future. A chance to start over in a galaxy that seemed determined to reject them. In the hours that followed, reports came in of Council ships mobilizing. The enemy was on the move, hunting for Phoenix, but the team didn't let fear slow them down. They pushed forward, guided by Alex's carefully plotted course. The journey was anything but smooth. Early on, sensors detected signs of pursuit. Enemy vessels appeared on the horizon, closing in fast. Emily reacted instantly, weaving Phoenix through tight turns and narrow gaps between asteroids. Her skill kept them one step ahead of their pursuers. Meanwhile, Alex monitored the situation from his station. His fingers danced across a keyboard, analyzing data streams and adjusting their trajectory. "They're gaining on us," he reported. "We need to shake them off." Rachel leaned forward in her seat. "What do you suggest?" Alex hesitated for a moment, then grinned. "There's a nebula up ahead. If we enter it, they'll lose our signal. But we'll have to navigate blind." "Do it," Rachel ordered, without hesitation. Emily steered Phoenix toward the swirling mass of gas and dust. As they entered the nebula, visibility dropped to 0. The ship shook violently as it passed through dense clouds. Alarms blared, warning of structural stress. But Emily held steady, trusting her instincts. Behind them, the Council ships faltered. Their sensors couldn't penetrate the nebula's interference. One by one, they broke off the chase, returning to safer territory. Inside Phoenix, the team breathed a collective sigh of relief. When they emerged on the other side, the galaxy stretched out before them, vast and unexplored. Stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across black velvet. For the first time in days, the crew allowed themselves to feel a flicker of hope. "We made it," Daniel said softly. "Now comes the hard part." Rachel nodded. "Let's find our new home." With renewed determination, the team pressed onward, leaving Earth and the Council far behind. They didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: humanity's story was far from over. The journey through the nebula had been dangerous, but it worked. Phoenix escaped the Council's ships and entered uncharted space. The crew felt a mix of relief and tension. They were free for now, but they still had a long way to go. Every decision mattered. One wrong move could mean disaster. Rachel Monroe sat in the cockpit, staring at the stars outside the window. The view was breathtaking, countless points of light scattered across an endless black canvas. But Rachel didn't have time to admire it. Her mind raced with questions. How far was their destination? Would they find a habitable planet? And, if they did, would it be safe? Emily Dawson kept her hands steady on the controls. She had proven herself during the chase through the nebula, but she knew there would be more challenges ahead. Flying Phoenix required focus and quick thinking. Even the smallest mistake could send them off course or damage the ship. Alex Rivera spent most of his time studying maps and data. He worked tirelessly to plot the safest route. The galaxy was vast, and many areas were unknown. Some regions might be filled with deadly radiation or hostile alien species. Alex wanted to avoid those places at all costs. He also monitored the ship's systems, making sure everything ran smoothly. Daniel Carter walked through the narrow corridors of Phoenix, checking on everyone. He tried to keep spirits high, even when things seemed uncertain. "We've come this far," he reminded the crew during one of their brief breaks. "We can't give up now." As days turned into weeks, the team faced new obstacles. Supplies began to dwindle, food rations were cut, and water had to be carefully measured. The air filtration system started acting up, forcing Rachel and Alex to spend hours repairing it. Tempers flared as fatigue set in, but they pushed through knowing they had no other choice. One night, while the rest of the crew slept, Emily stayed awake in the cockpit. She gazed at the stars, wondering what lay ahead. Her thoughts drifted, back to Earth, the bustling cities, the crowded streets, the people she left behind. She missed them, but she couldn't afford to dwell on the past. The future depended on her staying sharp. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up something unusual. A faint signal echoed through the void. It wasn't clear where it came from, but it was close. Emily woke the others immediately. "We might have company," she said, her voice tense. Rachel rushed to the control panel and studied the readings. The signal was weak, almost like static. "Could it be the Council?" she asked. Alex shook his head. "No, it's too irregular. This doesn't match their tech." "Then who or what is it?" Daniel wondered aloud. They decided to investigate. Emily guided Phoenix toward the source of the signal. As they got closer, the outline of a derelict ship appeared on the scanners. It looked ancient, its surface pitted with scars from battles long forgotten. The design was unfamiliar, unlike anything humans or council members used. "Should we board it?" Emily asked. Rachel hesitated. Exploring the ship could be risky, but it might also hold valuable resources or information. "Let's suit up," she decided finally, "but stay alert." The team donned their spacesuits and prepared to leave Phoenix. Using a small shuttle, they approached the mysterious vessel. Its hull loomed above them, dark and silent. When they docked, the airlock opened with a groan, revealing a dimly lit interior. Inside, the ship was eerie. Dust covered every surface, and strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The crew moved cautiously, weapons ready in case they encountered danger. They found rooms filled with broken equipment and empty storage containers. Whatever race had built this ship was gone, leaving only fragments of their legacy. In one chamber, they discovered a console still partially functional. Alex examined it closely, trying to decipher the strange language displayed on the screen. After some effort, he managed to extract a map of nearby star systems. One location stood out, a planet marked with a symbol resembling a tree. "This might be our best bet," Alex said. "It looks promising." Back on Phoenix, the team discussed their next steps. The planet marked on the map was farther away than their original destination, but it offered hope. If the symbols meant what they thought they did, the planet could support life. "Let's head there," Rachel said firmly. "We'll take the risk." The journey resumed, with renewed purpose driving the crew forward. Days passed, and the planet grew closer. Finally, after weeks of travel, Phoenix entered the planet's atmosphere. From above, it looked like paradise. Rolling hills stretched beneath lush forests. Rivers sparkled under twin suns, and clouds drifted lazily across the sky. "It's beautiful," Emily whispered, awestruck. They landed near a clearing surrounded by tall trees. Stepping onto the ground for the first time in months, the crew felt a sense of wonder. The air smelled fresh, and the soil felt soft beneath their boots. For a moment, they forgot about the hardships they endured. But reality soon returned. They needed to ensure the planet was truly safe. Rachel led a team to scout the area while Alex set up temporary shelters using materials brought from Earth. Daniel helped gather samples of plants and water to test for toxicity. Emily stayed near Phoenix, keeping watch in case anything unexpected happened. Over the next few days, they explored further. The planet showed no signs of intelligent life, which was both a relief and a concern. Without native species to interact with, they were alone, but that also meant fewer threats. The test confirmed the environment was suitable for human habitation. The water was clean, the air breathable, and the soil fertile enough to grow crops. "This is it," Rachel said during another meeting. "This is our new home." Building a settlement took time and effort. The crew worked together, constructing shelters, planting seeds, and setting up solar panels for power. They named the planet Haven, a fitting title for a place that offered refuge after so much struggle. News of Haven eventually reached Earth. Through encrypted messages sent via relay satellites, Rachel and her team shared their discovery with trusted allies. At first, skepticism greeted their claims. Many doubted such a perfect world existed, but as evidence piled up, photos, videos, and detailed reports, people began to believe. Slowly, ships started arriving. Refugees from Earth, desperate for a fresh start, made the journey to Haven. Families disembarked with tears in their eyes, overwhelmed by the beauty of their new home. They pitched in to help build the growing colony, contributing whatever skills they had. Under Rachel's leadership, the settlement flourished. Crops grew in abundance, providing food for everyone. Homes sprouted across the landscape, connected by winding paths. People laughed and sang, celebrating their newfound freedom. For the first time in years, hope replaced despair. But Rachel and her team didn't stop there. They sought peace with nearby alien species who shared Haven's orbit. These beings watched the humans with caution at first, unsure of their intentions. Daniel played a key role in bridging the gap between races. He arranged meetings, exchanged gifts, and promised cooperation rather than conflict. Over time, trust grew. Trade. Agreements were formed, allowing humans access to advanced technology and resources. Cultural exchanges brought understanding and friendship. Haven became a beacon of unity in a fractured galaxy. Meanwhile, rumors of humanity's success reached the Galactic Council. Some members dismissed the stories as exaggeration, while others grew curious. Eventually, a delegation arrived to see for themselves. Their ships descended into Haven's atmosphere, landing near the settlement. Rachel welcomed them calmly, standing alongside Daniel, Emily, and Alex. The council representatives stepped out, their expressions unreadable. They toured the colony, observing the thriving community and hearing stories from settlers. What they saw surprised them. Far from the reckless invaders they once condemned, these humans had transformed themselves. When the visit ended, Rachel addressed the council directly. "You tried to silence us," she said, her voice steady. "Instead, you made us stronger. We don't seek revenge, we seek understanding. Let this be a lesson to all. When pushed to the brink, humanity will always find a way to rise." Her words resonated deeply. Though the council didn't apologize, they acknowledged humanity's resilience. The banishment was lifted, allowing humans to reclaim their place among the stars, but on their own terms. Haven remained a symbol of hope and renewal. For Rachel and her team, it proved that even in the darkest times, humanity could adapt, overcome, and thrive. Their story inspired countless others, proving that strength wasn't about power. It was about perseverance, unity, and the courage to keep moving forward. Years passed since humanity first set foot on Haven. The planet transformed from a wild, untamed world into a thriving hub of life and culture. Settlements expanded, forests were carefully cultivated, and rivers became sources of energy and nourishment. Humans worked side by side with nearby alien species, building bridges that once seemed impossible. The scars of the past began to heal, but the lessons learned remained etched in their hearts. Rachel Monroe stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the valley below. The view was breathtaking. Fields of golden crops stretched as far as the eye could see, dotted with small homes and bustling markets. Children laughed as they played near a sparkling river, while adults tended to gardens and repaired tools. Smoke rose gently from chimneys, carrying the scent of freshly baked bread. It was a scene of peace, a stark contrast to the chaos humanity had left behind. Behind her, footsteps crunched against the dry grass. Rachel turned to see Daniel Carter approaching. His hair had grayed slightly, but his eyes still held the same determination she remembered from their early days aboard Phoenix. He smiled as he joined her at the edge of the cliff. "It's hard to believe we've come this far," Daniel said, gazing out at the landscape. "Sometimes I wonder if it was all just a dream." Rachel shook her head. "No dream could be this real. Every scar, every tear, it led us here. This is proof that we can rise above anything." Daniel nodded, though his expression grew thoughtful. "Do you think the council ever expected this? That we'd not only survive, but thrive?" "I doubt it," Rachel replied. They saw us as reckless and dangerous, but they underestimated us. They didn't understand what makes us human. What does make us human? Daniel asked, genuinely curious. Rachel paused, considering her answer. It's our ability to adapt, to learn from our mistakes, to keep going even when everything seems lost, and most importantly, to care for each other, for this planet, for the future. Her words hung in the air, carried away by the gentle breeze. Both of them fell silent, content to simply watch the world they had built together. Meanwhile, Emily Dawson sat inside a hangar, tinkering with a new prototype ship. Though Haven was now home, exploration remained a key part of their mission. Emily refused to let complacency take hold. She believed there were still countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered in the galaxy. Alex Rivera walked into the hangar holding a tablet filled with data. "You're working late again," he remarked, leaning against a nearby workbench. Emily glanced up, smearing grease across her cheek as she wiped sweat from her brow. "Someone has to keep pushing forward. We can't just sit back and enjoy the view," Alex chuckled. "I'm not saying we should stop exploring, but maybe take a break once in a while. You've earned it," Emily shrugged. "Breaks are overrated. Besides, I like staying busy." Alex studied her for a moment before changing the subject. "The council delegation arrives tomorrow. Are you ready?" Emily frowned. "Ready for what? We've already proven ourselves. What more do they want?" "They're not here to judge us," Alex explained. "They want to see how we've done things differently, how we've managed to create something sustainable without causing harm." "Good," Emily muttered. "Let them learn something for a change." Alex smiled. Despite her tough exterior, Emily cared deeply about Haven and its people. Her dedication inspired everyone around her. The next morning, the council ships descended into Haven's atmosphere. Their sleek designs glinted under the twin suns, casting long shadows across the ground. A crowd gathered near the landing site, curious but cautious. Memories of the banishment still lingered, and trust took time to rebuild. Rachel, Daniel, Emily, and Alex stood at the front of the group, ready to greet the visitors. As the council representatives stepped out of their ships, Rachel stepped forward. Her voice was calm but firm as she addressed them. "Welcome to Haven," she said. "This is our home now. We invite you to see what we've built, and to understand why we fought so hard to survive." The leader of the delegation, an alien with shimmering silver skin and elongated limbs, bowed slightly. "We have heard much about your achievements. We wish to learn from you." For the next several days, the council toured Haven. They visited farms, schools, and workshops, speaking with settlers and observing daily life. They marveled at the harmony between humans and nature, noting how resources were used wisely and waste was minimized. They saw evidence of cooperation with neighboring alien species, who praised humanity's efforts to live peacefully. One evening, during a formal gathering, the council leader addressed the crowd. "When we declared you outlaws, we believed we were protecting the galaxy. But today we see that we made a grave error. Humanity has shown resilience, creativity, and a deep respect for life. You have proven yourselves worthy of a second chance." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Many felt vindicated, but others remained wary. Words alone couldn't erase the pain of the past. Rachel stepped forward, her voice steady. "Thank you for acknowledging our growth. But let this also serve as a reminder, to all of us, that judgment should never come too quickly. Understanding takes time, and unity requires effort." Her speech resonated deeply, earning applause from both humans and aliens alike. The council announced that Earth's banishment would officially end. Humans were free to reclaim their place among the stars, but only as partners, not conquerors. In the months that followed, Haven became a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. Delegations from distant worlds traveled to study its success. Scientists marveled at its sustainable systems, while philosophers debated the values that guided its creation. Stories of humanity's perseverance spread far and wide, inspiring others to overcome their own struggles. Rachel, Daniel, Emily, and Alex continued to play vital roles in shaping Haven's future. Rachel oversaw projects aimed at improving quality of life, ensuring no one was left behind. Daniel fostered relationships with alien allies, strengthening bonds of friendship and trust. Emily pushed the boundaries of exploration, venturing farther into the galaxy than anyone had before. And Alex strategized ways to protect Haven, preparing for challenges yet to come. But perhaps the greatest achievement was the sense of community that flourished on Haven. People from diverse backgrounds worked together, united by a shared vision of peace and progress. Old rivalries faded, replaced by mutual respect and cooperation. Even those who had once doubted humanity's potential now looked to Haven as a model for coexistence. As years turned into decades, Haven grew beyond a single settlement. New towns sprouted across the planet, each with its own unique character. Trade routes connected Haven to distant stars, bringing wealth and knowledge. Schools taught children about the importance of balance, between ambition and responsibility, between independence and collaboration. Rachel often reflected on their journey. From the despair of banishment to the triumph of rebuilding, every step had shaped them into who they were today. She knew challenges lay ahead, but she also knew humanity would face them head-on, as they always had. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Rachel stood once more at the edge of the cliff. The sky blazed with colors, reds, oranges, purples, painting the world in hues of fire and light. Behind her, laughter echoed from the village below. Children ran barefoot through fields, chasing fireflies. Adults shared stories around campfires, their faces glowing warmly in the flickering light. Rachel smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. They had started with nothing but a dream and a broken ship. Now they had created something extraordinary, a legacy of strength, unity, and hope. And as the stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, Rachel whispered softly to herself, "This is just the beginning." The years rolled on, and Haven continued to grow. The planet became more than just a home. It was a beacon of hope for all who sought refuge or inspiration. News of its success spread across the galaxy, drawing attention from corners humanity had never imagined reaching. Refugees from other worlds, fleeing their own struggles, began arriving in small numbers. Some were survivors of wars, others victims of environmental collapse. Each group carried its own story of hardship, but all shared one thing, a desire for a better life. Rachel Monroe watched these newcomers with a mix of pride and concern. She knew Haven could not support endless growth without careful planning. Resources were abundant, but they weren't infinite. If the settlement grew too quickly, it risked repeating the mistakes that once led to humanity's banishment. Yet, turning away those in need felt wrong. It went against everything Haven stood for. One evening, Rachel called a meeting with her closest advisors, Daniel Carter, Emily Dawson, and Alex Rivera. They gathered in the main hall of the central settlement, a large wooden building filled with maps, charts, and glowing screens. The air smelled of fresh wood and burning candles. Outside, the twin suns cast long shadows across the fields. "We have a problem," Rachel began, her tone serious. "More ships are arriving every week. We can't keep absorbing people at this rate. If we don't find a solution, we'll strain our resources." Daniel leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "She's right. But we also can't turn them away. These people are desperate. They've heard about Haven and see it as their last chance." Emily frowned. "Maybe we need to expand. Build new settlements farther out. Spread the load." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "It's possible, but expanding means sending people into unexplored areas. We don't know what dangers might be out there." Rachel sighed. "We're running out of time to decide. Every day we delay puts more pressure on everyone here." The group debated late into the night, weighing options and considering risks. By the time they adjourned, they had a plan. They would create satellite settlements, smaller communities built around key resources like water sources or fertile land. These outposts would act as buffer zones, easing the burden on the central settlement while allowing Haven to grow sustainably. The first satellite settlement, named Horizon, took shape several miles north of the main colony. A team led by Emily set out to scout the area, mapping terrain and testing soil quality. They discovered a wide valley surrounded by rolling hills, with a river cutting through the center. The location was perfect. Construction began immediately. Volunteers poured in from the central settlement, eager to help build a new home. Families packed up their belongings and set out with wagons loaded with tools and supplies. Among them were refugees who had recently arrived, grateful for the opportunity to contribute. As Horizon grew, so did the bonds between its residents. Strangers became neighbors, sharing meals and stories around campfires. Old divisions faded as people worked together toward a common goal. For many, the experience was transformative. They realized that despite their differences, they were stronger united. But challenges remained. Supplies were stretched thin, and communication between settlements wasn't always reliable. Storms occasionally knocked out power lines, leaving outposts isolated for days. Wild animals roamed the forests, posing threats to livestock and crops. Still, the settlers persevered, driven by the promise of a brighter future. Back at the central settlement, Rachel focused on diplomacy. Word of Haven's openness reached neighboring alien species, sparking curiosity and, in some cases, suspicion. While most welcomed the idea of cooperation, a few viewed Haven's expansion as a potential threat. Tensions flared when a group of settlers accidentally trespassed on alien territory while exploring new lands. Rachel acted swiftly to resolve the issue. She traveled to the affected region, accompanied by Daniel and representatives from both sides. After hours of tense negotiations, they reached an agreement. The settlers would relocate their operations, and in return, the aliens would share knowledge about local wildlife and weather patterns. It was a small victory, but it reinforced Haven's commitment to peaceful coexistence. Meanwhile, Emily pushed for further exploration. Her prototype ships, now fully operational, ventured deeper into uncharted space. She believed that understanding the galaxy was key to ensuring Haven's survival. On one such mission, her crew discovered an ancient structure buried beneath layers of ice on a distant moon. The artifact appeared to predate even the oldest known civilizations. News of the discovery electrified the scientific community. Scholars from across the galaxy flocked to Haven, eager to study the relic. Its purpose remained a mystery, but initial tests suggested it contained vast amounts of data, perhaps a record of forgotten history or advanced technology. Alex spearheaded efforts to decode the artifact. He spent countless hours analyzing fragments of information extracted from its core. Slowly, patterns emerged. Symbols resembling those found on the derelict ship years earlier began to make sense. It seemed the artifact was part of a network, scattered across the galaxy like pieces of a puzzle. "This changes everything," Alex told Rachel during one of their late-night discussions. "If we can unlock its secrets, we might gain insights into how the galaxy formed, and how to prevent conflicts like the one that nearly destroyed us." Rachel nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "But we have to be careful. Knowledge is powerful, and power attracts danger." Despite the excitement surrounding the artifact, daily life on Haven continued. Crops grew, children played, and markets bustled with activity. The settlers embraced their roles as stewards of the planet, working tirelessly to maintain balance. Even as they looked outward, they remained grounded in their values. One day, a message arrived from Earth. It was rare for communications to reach Haven directly, given the distance and interference. The transmission crackled with static, but the voice on the other end was clear enough to understand. "Haven, this is Earth Command. Do you copy?" Rachel's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't spoken to anyone from Earth in years. The Council's decision had severed ties, leaving Earth isolated and struggling. What could they want now? "This is Rachel Monroe. We hear you loud and clear. What is your status?" The response came slowly, weighted with emotion. Earth is dying. Climate collapse has accelerated beyond predictions. Millions are displaced. We need your help. Silence fell over the room. The weight of the request hung heavy in the air. For decades, Earth had turned its back on Haven. Now it begged for salvation. Rachel exchanged glances with Daniel, Emily, and Alex. Each face reflected the same conflict: anger, compassion, uncertainty. Finally, Rachel spoke. We will discuss your request and respond soon. In the meantime, prepare coordinates for a delegation to visit. We need to assess the situation firsthand. Earth's reply was brief but heartfelt. Thank you. We await your answer. The news sent shockwaves through Haven. Opinions divided sharply. Some argued that helping Earth was their duty, a chance to repay old debts. Others saw it as a betrayal of everything Haven stood for, a reward for Earth's failures. Tempers flared during town meetings, and debates raged late into the night. Rachel listened to both sides, weighing the arguments carefully. Ultimately, she decided that Haven couldn't ignore Earth's plight. Humanity's roots ran deep, and abandoning their homeworld would mean losing something irreplaceable. A delegation, led by Daniel, set out for Earth weeks later. What they found shocked them. Cities lay in ruins, swallowed by rising seas or scorched by wildfires. Survivors huddled in makeshift camps, clinging to hope amid despair. The damage was catastrophic but not irreversible. Returning to Haven, Daniel delivered his report. It's bad, but it's not hopeless. With effort and sacrifice, we can stabilize Earth. But it will take everything we've learned here about sustainability, cooperation, and resilience. Rachel addressed the entire colony, her voice steady. This is our chance to prove that humanity is truly capable of change. We started as outcasts, rejected by the galaxy. Now, we stand as leaders. Let's show Earth and ourselves that we can heal what's broken. The vote was close, but ultimately Haven agreed to send aid. Ships loaded with supplies and experts departed for Earth, carrying seeds, technology, and lessons learned on Haven. It was a risky move, stretching resources thin, but it was also an act of faith in humanity's ability to rebuild and in the values that defined Haven. Years passed, and the effects of Haven's intervention began to show. Earth stabilized, albeit slowly. Forests regrew, rivers flowed clean again, and cities rose from the ashes. Lessons from Haven inspired global reforms, fostering unity where division once reigned. In the galaxy at large, Haven's influence grew. Its story became legend, a tale of perseverance, ingenuity, and redemption. Other worlds looked to it as proof that even the darkest times could give way to light. Rachel often reflected on their journey. From the despair of banishment to the triumph of renewal, every step had shaped them into who they were today. She knew challenges still lay ahead, but she also knew humanity would face them head-on, as they always had. As she stood once more, at the edge of the cliff watching the twin suns dip below the horizon, Rachel felt a deep sense of peace. Haven was more than a planet. It was a legacy, and as long as its spirit endured,